20 on me, case emergency. Ain't no cap in my rap. Real I know it's the truck. More profit mean extra. Emerald white out full of pressure. That cereal milk smoking right. But that Obama rent some special. Kansas City, I'm a chief. Shout out to K5 on new one. Country thuggin', I was hustling. I always had it on me. Booming like OJ the Juice. Till a nigga told on me. From now on, it's relentless. Ain't no love, we ain't friendly. If she want me on him. No the law, she get the business. No the law, still the motto. Empire.
Hello. Welcome in. This is Birds of a Feather podcast with your boy Q City, your one-stop shop for ATL sports concerning the Falcons and the Hawks. We're about to dig deep into the Falcons' upcoming game against the Miami Dolphins on Week 7. So, join me on this adventure. Let's go Falcons. So first things first, I want to discuss what's known as the transitive property. It's a math term that talks about A equals B, B equals C, therefore A equals C. Logical, right? So a lot of people believe the Jets are better than the Jaguars. The Jaguars beat the Dolphins and the Falcons beat the Jets. Therefore, the Falcons should beat the Dolphins, right? It follows, it tracks. Let me be the first to tell you, the transitive property does not exist in sports at all. It doesn't. Each and every game has its own unique matchups, its own unique properties that individualize that game. And coaches in the league are smart. If you ever really talk to offensive and defensive people about how they talk, think, breathe, eat, sleep football, you realize that most people don't know what they're talking about when they discuss something as simple as a game plan. Just because a team can go in and beat another team, there's so many factors that inhibit or lead to the success of a game plan. When you look at the Jaguars, how they attacked Miami's secondary, they've got bigger, taller receivers that were able to have 50-50 balls. They had a strong arm quarterback who was able to push the ball downfield, and they had a bruising running game that was able to take Miami straight up the front, right? And even then, it took a last-second field goal to beat them when they had advantages because Miami was down 2 cornerbacks in their secondary. I just think it is extremely haughty going in thinking, well, hey, the Jaguars are the worst team in the league and they beat the Dolphins. So by proxy, the Falcons should be able to just run all over them. The line opened at Miami 2.5. Granted, they're at home, so you're laying down 3 on that. But what it really means is that if this game was on a neutral field, most people who, and this is Vegas speaking, this ain't a Falcons fan, a Dolphins fan, this is Vegas speaking. If this game was on a neutral field, these teams would be completely even. The 3 points is because, Miami's at home. Maybe the Falcons are a little bit better. So it's 2.5. But Miami opened this game as favored. And that should tell you everything you need to know about how a lot of outside people view the Falcons right now. So don't just think because the worst team in the league beat Miami, this is just going to be a rollover type situation. The Falcons got a fight on their hands. And to be completely honest, maybe our personnel matchups aren't as favorable as Jacksonville's. So, when I'm looking at, the rewind of the game, a couple things stuck out to me. So, if you're a Falcons fan, you remember the last time you saw Tua in a dome. And, hey, he lit the dogs up. The kid's nice. He's special. And no one's mad at that. The thing I've seen from him in the pro game is he is extremely, extremely accurate on short screen game and intermediate throws, what most people would refer to as second level throws. Now, when I look at us, we have Deion Jones. And that's pretty much it in terms of pass coverage. You know what I'm saying? Aluakon, he's really good at coming downhill. And I'm loving how when they hybrid flex Dante Fowler and stand him up. You know what I'm saying? But if you ever have to make him drop back into coverage, you're at a loss. So AJ Terrell has been balling, and if you've been watching him play this year, he has been shutting down the screen game. He got caught on one very early in the Philly game to Jalen Rager, I think. But that's about it. He has been shutting down the screen game, and he hasn't been getting beat deep. I don't see the Dolphins really pushing the ball downfield consistently. Jalen Waddle, while he is a speedster, I don't think Tua has the arm for it in the pro game. They didn't do a lot of deep sideline outs. A lot of it was in cutting. A lot of it was fast 3-step drops, get the ball out your hands. And so when I look at Tua, I don't think of someone who could challenge us deep. Now, with that being said, I look at quarterbacks who play like Tua, and they have completely feasted on the Atlanta defense, especially behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. When I look at Atlanta's defense, we run, of course, a base 4-3 and one of the set base defenses that cover 2, right? Try to drop your linebackers back, and you make the quarterback make a hard throw in between the corners and the safety in front of the linebackers so that they can come and cover. The problem we are consistently having is the safeties dropping back too deep, and wide receivers on in-cutting routes as well as tight ends getting behind the linebackers in front of the safeties, especially on third down. It has been a problem all year long. And this is what Tua truly thrives on. So when I look at him, I think he is perfectly suited to attack Atlanta's defenses where it's weak. When I look at this game, I definitely see 27-24 type game. I'm looking to go Atlanta's way, but I don't think we're really going to be able to have any hope of stopping this Miami's offense unless we completely shut down the run and put them in third and long situations. Now, that's easy to say about any team, but how can we sell out for the run? I believe Alua Khan has to be on the field almost this whole game in terms of first and second down. He's coming downhill at you. Grady's eating everything inside, and Fowler's coming off the edge. This, I believe, is a recipe to help us move forward with this defense in attacking Miami where they're vulnerable. The kid they took out of USC in the first round last year, for the life of him, cannot guard anyone at tackle. He had, I think, 3 penalties last game against Jacksonville, who doesn't have any pass rushers of note that I can think of outside of Josh Allen, who's pretty good. Atlanta doesn't have anybody like him on the roster. But still, I think he can be had. Now, when I look at Miami's defense, Christian Wilkins had a day. He was blowing up the whole middle of that. And Flores tends to run a multiple defense where they have exotic fronts, switch between 3-4 and 4-3. And they play a lot of press man coverage. Now, Calvin Ridley, extremely, feisty, very, very crafty route runner. Seeing him get open, especially if Xavier Howard, Miami's quarterback, doesn't play, I think he could get off. Matt Ryan has feasted on man coverage. He's smart, which I don't understand why zones tend to mess with him the way they do. But he is able to consistently beat man coverage because his receivers, like Calvin Ridley, get such separation, especially on timing routes. Matt's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get the ball out. Our run game, I think, will have tremendous trouble, and that could keep us in second and longs. Second and longs tend to really hurt the Atlanta offense because I feel like a lot of times if we're in 3rd and 7 or further, and this is a Falcons fan, if it's 3rd and 7, Matt'll get you 6. If it's 3rd and 8, Matt'll get you 7. Like, it never fails. And then if it's 3rd and 9 or longer, we're running a draw. It's almost as if they don't even try to get the first down. And so if we're consistently in second and longs and having to hit pop plays, I think it'll be very hard for us to stay ahead of the sticks. And it might lead to a terrible third down conversion rate for this week. So I think Adams has got to get going, but Cordell Patterson, he's going to be toting that rock this week. So last week I talked about how Kyle Pitts came out and had a field day. My boy went nasty. About 10 receptions, buck 18. He was out there and got that touchdown, first one of his career. But one of the main reasons for his emergence last week was the fact that Russell Gage and Ridley were out. And I was the first one to say, them being out should not be the reason you feature somebody who was the 4th pick in the draft. Draft capital is extremely important. And you use the 4th pick overall on this guy. Didn't have a 2nd round pick this year because you got Hayden Hurst, who that's just a whole nother level of redundancy because you spent the 4th pick. So in essence, you spent your first 2 picks on tight ends and aren't overly prominently featuring either of them. They're both receiving threats. And so you don't really have any push in the run game. Kyle Pitts is a big body, but he's got a long way to go as a blocker. So Ridley being back with the team is a much needed boost to the receiving corps. Now, it said he was gone this week for personal reasons. I've seen a lot of people online talking about what those personal reasons were, and I think the fact that he hasn't divulged them means they probably truly were personal. I know it takes a lot to, be a pro athlete, be a pro player, and sometimes, especially me, tend to think of these people as just stats, just numbers, and it's not really the case. These are full-grown people with full-grown lives, and they have things that happen. I stand beside him having to take the game off, and I think him coming back this week will be a huge boost. Now, I've been one of the people who's been hot and cold on Russell Gage. I am not a huge fan of diminutive receivers. Calvin Ridley kind of changed my mind on it, but I loved Calvin Ridley paired with someone like Julio Jones. I would love Ridley with someone like Cordell Patterson, but I think in the role he's in, he works perfectly. A bigger body receiver with someone who's a slider build. I love Russell Gage as a slot receiver. I think that's somewhere that we're going to look to upgrade in the draft. Bigger body receivers or a more blocking threat type receiver running down the field, because the thing I'm noticing about Arthur Smith, as you watch him coach a little more, is that he definitely wants that domineering run game, and it doesn't always have to come from one player. I've seen him hand off a couple of reverses and a quick screen game, which are just like extensions of the run. And those quick screen games to the left, I don't love Jake Matthews, but when he's able to get out in space, he can mow him down. So those are kind of like almost stretch run plays. I think that having both of them on the field presents problems for Miami's defense, and it may allow Kyle Pitts to work the middle of the field a little better. He had a case of the dropsies earlier in the year, but, he really showed well last game, and having a big-time receiving threat like Ridley on the field should only open up more space for him. So next up is in division. So we're going to look around the division, see where the Falcons line up, and overall take a look at the conference. First things first, our biggest rival, they were on a bye just like we were. No excuses for them. They're still at 3-3, the Aints. Then you got the Panthers, who started off red hot at 3-0. Now they're 3-3. And my bad, quick correction, the Saints are 3-2. The Panthers started off 3-0, and after that loss to Dallas, they're kind of reeling. Lost in overtime, run defense looking terrible. Darnold is looking very New York Jets Darnold of him. And this might be an easy way to climb back into the division. The Falcons are only 2-3, and a win next week puts us at 3-3, and we're only 3 games out. 3.5 if you count the fact that we lost to the Buccaneers already. But hey, that's a way to come back. The Bucs are flying high, 5-1. They beat the Eagles. The score was a 1-possession game, but if you looked at it, it was 2 possessions up to like the last minute. It wasn't really a game. The Bucs were in control the whole time. So they're looking every bit of the world champs, and they're going to be a tough out. The Falcons sit 11th in conference right now. There's 4 teams with 2 wins, and sadly, the Falcons are one of them. The Lions 0-5, terrible, behind us. And I think the Jets got 1 win. Not the Jets, the Giants got 1 win. Tampa sits right below the Cardinals and the Rams, who they, lost to. If the playoffs were to start today, of course the Falcons would be out. But over the course of the next 3 weeks, I could see us racking up some wins to be able to push into that 7th spot. The winner of the NFC South is looking like they're going to have, at best, the 3 seed. Because the winner of the NFC West is either going to be the Rams, who beat the Bucks, or the Cardinals, who at this point are undefeated. And the 2 seed is looking like it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Unless they, fall off a cliff. The Falcons play them later this year as well. So when I look at it, the Falcons have a chance to either grab that 6th or 7th seed. I think the 5th seed is out of order because the second team in the NFC West is going to have that wrapped up. But pushing for that 6th or 7th seed, once you get in the tournament, anything can happen. But, let's take it 1 week at a time. We got to get there. But as of now, 4th in division, 11th in conference. Okay, and now it is time for one of my favorite points and one of my favorite vices, betting. This section called Gimme Props, where I look at things on the Sharp app. It is an amazing app, an amazing betting tool, and I place my bets for the week. Now, the prop action usually isn't available for Sunday games till about Thursday, but you can bet on literally anything. Who scores the first touchdown, how many receiving yards someone can get, what the coin flip will be. And I have those posted on Twitter Sunday morning before kickoff. But overall for the game, Miami opened at 3. It got bet down to 2.5. And I am taking the Falcons to win outright. For those of y'all who are a little new to betting, what the betting line means, or those numbers after, if you have Miami to win, and they have to win by 3 or more points for you to get paid. If you have the Falcons can either win or they can lose by 1 or 2 points and you still get paid. That's what a 3-point spread means. It being bet down to 2.5 kind of puts you in the same point as a 3. So I'm looking forward to betting this week, getting a little money, to go out and spend. Love your vices, man, and putting a little change on the game keeps you interested, spread your money around, bet wisely. Don't, do anything that would put you or your family at risk. But $10, $20 here or there, super fun. Now, also on the Sharp app, you have parlays. Parlays are betting that things in succession will happen. So, say you bet that Ridley gets 50 yards, Matt Ryan throws 2 touchdowns, Cordell Patterson gets a receiving touchdown, and the Falcons win. If you bet all 4 of those things and you parlay it, you may put up $5, $10. The gambling place is betting that all 4 of those things won't happen. You're betting all 4 of those things will happen. So the odds are super high. They're in the bettor's favor, or not the bettor. They're in the bookie's favor. And so the payout on it, if they all hit, could be huge. I love parlays. I'm a huge proponent of it. They're very cheap to get in, and the payout's huge. So if you're going to gamble, that's the way I choose to go. All right, so last week I asked a couple of my listeners to shoot me some ideas on Instagram. I'm on Twitter now as well, so QCity11 on Instagram and Twitter. The DMs are open. Tweet at me, post at me. I just, want to get the fan engagement going. But I asked people, give me some thoughts about how you feel about Atlanta sports in general, how you feel about, some of the team's practices. And I came up with three things that are pretty universal. So the first one is retention of players. Bill Belichick might be the best at this, where he lets go of a player a year early while they still have some juice left in them. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady notwithstanding, he's an alien. And being okay that they're going to have one, maybe 1.5 productive years elsewhere, but you're not going to get trapped in a big contract, paying them big money. Atlanta isn't the worst, but they're the worst in what many would consider a high level operation at doing so. We haven't had a full scope of this new GM and head coach mix, but I can say with absolute certainty, Thomas Dimitroff paid players that should not have been played. Our drafting history, it is what it is. Like, I think from the 2018 class, there might only be one player left on the roster. We have had some absolute nightmare draft classes. But when it comes to actually retaining players and retaining pieces, we tend to hold on to guys too long. And sadly, I know it sounds like a bit of heresy, but I think the next two players we're going to do it to are the heart and soul of our defense. I love Deion Jones. Debo is a monster. And based on Atlanta's history, we would pay him. But this guy came from the Saints. And I don't think he's in the mood to pay anyone anything, especially on the defensive end of the ball. He's shown that he's willing to go out and get free agents by this past cycle. I think if we do pay Debo, it'll be on a very team-friendly deal. And in 2 years, when Grady's up, I don't think he gets re-signed. I'm pretty sure his guarantees run out next year, so there might be a contract stalemate. But I'm actually looking forward to our retention policy being a bit different. I think that the old regime paying people like Matt Ryan another deal and Jake Matthews, who, if anyone knows, is an albatross of a deal, you know, and trying to build cheap talent on the line around it, it really handcuffed us. You know what I'm saying? I loved Julio. Loved him. But we got rid of Julio at the right time in terms of what he was going to mean on the cap. Even the dead cap numbers are paying him, I think, $9 million this year, and getting rid of Trufant. Totally worth it. Speaking of Trufant, he was cut by the Saints. And there's been this little groundswell movement to, oh, bring him back. Him next to AJ Terrell. Like, first off, Desmond Trufant is absolutely terrible. And the fact that he hasn't played on the Falcons for 2 years and is still on the books is just, it's why Dimitroff doesn't have a job anymore. But Desmond Trufant can no longer play in the National Football League. That is not a slight at all. Because let me explain something to you. I am sitting on a couch recording this podcast. I could not play in the league. If you played college ball, there's a good chance you could not play in the league. If you played high-level college ball, there's a good chance you could not play in the league. Desmond Trufant not only played in the league, but was drafted in the first round and got a second contract. The dude is nice, but Father Time is undefeated. Okay? So in relation to the average person, you are an amazing athlete in the top 1% of the top 1%. In terms of comparing you to NFL athletes, you can no longer play the cornerback position. And there's no shame in that. I don't think he has the reservoir to move to safety. And basically with what he wants to get paid, I don't see any team picking him up unless he, you know, takes the Richard Sherman route and decides to play on the veteran minimum with the contender. Look to see him sign with somebody like Kansas City. But him coming back to Atlanta, nah, that's a dud. The last one I got was one of the most polarizing topics that I think has ever been said. I'm gonna be the one to say it. anytime it's said or brought up all the time. Matt Ryan is the best quarterback in Atlanta Falcons franchise history. The best. Point blank, stop, start, period, end of sentence. He's the best one to ever do it. That does not mean that I don't like Michael Vick more. That does not mean that I don't appreciate Chris Chandler. Or hell, even the 1 year at Bobby Petrino with DJ Shockley. Love it. Matt Ryan's the best that we've ever had. Will he be a Hall of Famer? I don't know. They're going to let Eli in, but he won 2 rings. Matt has an MVP, a Super Bowl appearance, 3 NFC Championship appearances, and I think 6 playoff appearances. He's had a couple losing seasons, but he is the best quarterback we've ever had. And 2 things can be true at the same time. 1, Matt Ryan could be the best quarterback we've ever had. And 2, it could be time for a new quarterback. With that being said, his dead cap number for the next 2 years is extremely unmovable. Next year, I think it's like $26 million. In the year after that, it's 13, which isn't terrible, especially with the cap going up. But it's still not something you want to do. You don't want to be paying someone $13 million to not play on your team. For all the people clamoring to get a rookie quarterback, do you realize rookie quarterbacks look good because they're cheap? They look good because they're cheap. You're able to build the rest of the team around them. Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, Kyler Murray this year, Lamar Jackson. All those guys are able to have a stacked team around them in their rookie deal. You know what I'm saying? You can overpay on the line. You can overpay for running back. You can overpay for tight end, wide receiver. Make that offense look good. But the best place to overspend is when you have a rookie quarterback. Look at the Patriots. You have a rookie quarterback like Matt Jones, and you overspend on the defensive side of the ball, which keeps you in games. If you look at Matt Ryan's first year when we went 11-5, we had Michael the Turner Burner and a bomb defense. John Abraham, I think, he had the record that Beasley broke that year. So, looking towards the future from the quarterback position doesn't necessarily make sense this year. I understand how it can get the fan base, all riled up and ready because, we're getting a new quarterback. But if you're going to get a guy just to sit him for a year, you're wasting a year of that cheap contract where you can't spend elsewhere. And then also, getting a guy but still having 13 mil committed makes that guy not as cheap. That's why the last deal was such an albatross. But with that being said, I don't see us getting a quarterback this year in the draft, but next year might be the case. Hell, who knows? We might do journeyman until Arch Manning comes out. Thank you guys for all that you've done. I love the feedback. Anyone I've sent the pod to that was able to reach out to me, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to grow this. I'm trying to build this. And hey, I only want to get better. Just like the Falcons. So hit me up on at QCity11 on Instagram and Twitter. And I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to this game this weekend. I'll be dropping episode 4 on Thursday. That will be the basketball podcast, the Hawks edition. Drop it a little late after the game. And I can't wait to hear from you guys. Let's go Falcons.
Looking like I hit the lotto. I want a hottie like mulatto. I'm on here and she on Moscato. I'm in them good till tomorrow. I'm a robber for the Neros. Your little laws, I'ma put you on payroll. You smell that aroma? Design in the air, it's a party in here. Papa Corona, she moving the body, she working them heels. Gotta go get it mentality. Grocery bag full of celery. Only believe half what she telling me. Keep a 20 on me in case emergency. I wake up early every morning. Thank the Lord and get the bag. Hustle hard, get the cash. Stack first, then I'm showing my ass. Gotta go get it mentality. Grocery bag full of celery. Only believe half what she telling me. Keep a 20 on me in case emergency.
My babies, that's who I grind for. That's who I do it for. Like the Navy, that's who I'm toting that iron for. keep one in their head like a thought, nigga. Yeah, I fuck with Ty, he a boss, nigga. Put on their neck, I exhaust, nigga. Niggas cross me, so I cross, nigga. No stripper was lit last night. 500 what it cost, nigga. Shit was really legit last night. Had them hoes at the house, nigga. Instagram, Snapchat, Triller. What they say about Jay, he a go-getter. Used to have them fat sacks in the grove, nigga. Late nights, early morning, my dough, nigga.
You smell that aroma? Design in the air, it's a party in here. Pop a Corona, she moving the body, she working them heels. Gotta go get it mentality. Grocery bag full of celery. Only believe half what she telling me. Keep a 20